When we think of ancient wealth, we all imagine extravagant lives, treasures, gold, and jewels. But in reality, wealth is not just about the objects that were left behind. It's about how those people, those civilizations, built their wealth, with strategies strong enough to teach us lessons even today. In this video, let's take a look together at the real story behind the wealth of history's greatest civilizations, the Egyptians, the Romans, the Incas, etc. Their wealth was much more than we tend to think. For example, what if I told you that the wealth of these empires was not only because they collected gold? The real issue was how they used their resources, how they built their systems, and how they laid the foundations of today's financial order. Let's start with one of the oldest, for example, Egypt. Egypt, their wealth was not in gold, but actually in the Nile. When we think of Egypt, we immediately think of gold and pyramids. King Tut's tomb, for instance, when it was found almost intact in 1922, it shocked the entire world. But Egypt's wealth was not just gold. The real treasure was hidden in the Nile River. Thanks to the Nile, the lands were far more fertile. Each year it flooded and nourished the fields. This not only fed the population, but also formed the foundation of trade with Mesopotamia, India, and Africa. The Egyptians understood the importance of agriculture so well that their irrigation systems, storage structures, and methods of managing surplus production went far beyond their time. For them, grain was more valuable than gold. If we think about what they left behind, not just precious treasures, but also agricultural techniques and skills, taxation systems, the foundations of early banking, and of course unique architectural works. All of these are still in books today and were the first choices of systems that modern economies still use. Rome, they grew rich, not through war, but through organization. Now let's take a look at Rome. Rome mastered not only warfare, but also economic management. Yes, they conquered. Yes, they plundered the resources of many regions. But their greatest advantage was how they organized these resources. The famous Roman roads are the best example of this. They didn't just build them to move the army, but also to keep the economy alive. Rome turned every region it conquered into a part of its own system. Taxes, trade, monetary structure, all of it flowed into the Roman treasury, and from there was cycled back into infrastructure, military power, and the public. What they left behind was not only the Colosseum or aqueducts, but also a legal order, economic structures, and some of the earliest examples of public-private partnerships. Rome's power was not in war, but in its ability to build systems. That is why the empire lasted so long. The Incas. No money, but plenty of wealth. Now let's move to the Incas. They didn't have money, but they had a system, just like the Romans, and even stronger in some ways. The Incas built one of the world's most advanced agricultural systems in the harsh conditions of the Andes Mountains. Instead of money, they used a labor-based exchange system called maita. People worked, and in return the state protected them and provided for their needs. Here, the people and the state were organized together. If we think about wealth, not in gold, but in the ability to feed the population, the ability to farm in the mountains, and the ability to maintain a strong social structure, then the Incas were truly rich. And what did they leave behind? Terrace farming systems, roads, and lessons in sustainability. If we are still eating potatoes today, we owe it to the Incas. Mesopotamia, the place where banking was born. This slogan fits perfectly. Let's briefly look at how banking emerged. The roots of modern finance were almost entirely planted here. The Sumerians and Babylonians didn't just build cities. They introduced money systems, interest, credit, and debt structures into our lives. Loans given in grain eventually turned into interest-based systems. The Code of Hammurabi included some of the earliest economic regulations. The foundational stones of today's banking system were formed right here. The common point of all: wealth is not gold, it is good management. All these civilizations had one common feature. They didn't just accumulate wealth, they managed it. Egypt's use of the Nile, Rome's massive organization, the Inca system built without money, all lead us to the same conclusion. Real wealth is not in what you own, it's in how you manage it. Today, how we use our money, skills, and technology determines our future. Ancient civilizations left us a crystal clear lesson. Wealth is a matter of system, and the real value is in what you leave behind.